Hey guys, Joseph here from Jouleconcepts. I really miss you guys. Alright, so I'm here with another tutorial and I just wanted to show you how you can turn this into this. Alright, so you can see what we have here. So let me just quickly put this side by side. So you see what we have as the original image, and we're looking at how to get this image into having this realistic feel. We can also have all of this thing by the side, and that is what this tutorial is going to be about. And before we just get into the tutorial, I would like to implore you guys to please share this video and subscribe if you are new to this channel, because I do tutorials like this every day. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to start by creating a camera, then go into the camera, right click, go to Cinema 4D tag and camera calibration. So in the camera calibration, if you go to the image tab, there is the image that I'm going to use. So I have that here. So I'll just drag this over to this place. It will ask me to save. I will say no. All right, so this is the image I want to show. So if I select my camera calibration, look at what I have. The image is not fully sized, and you can see that if you look at this image, what I have here is quite different from what I'm seeing here. The reason is because the aspect ratio is different. You can see the aspect ratio is 1280 by 1280, but that's not the case for my scene here. So if I go to my render setting, I'm going to change my output section from 1280 to 1280. And as soon as I do that and I lock, I'm going to have this created for me straight up, no issue. So I have all of these settings where I can change the scale of this guy. I can change the scale. I can change the X offset position, and I can change the Y offset position. Okay. And then I also have option to show image. So if I uncheck that, the image will not show. If I check that, that image will show. I said show image in foreground, and you can see interacting with the grid. You can see that if it's not checked, the image will not show, but I want it to show in the foreground. Then I can also change the opacity of this image. All right, so I'll leave this at 100. Then you now have other things to do. You can go back to the full size. So let's say, for instance, I can see that I've moved this and I've changed position. If I go to full size, it's going to reset everything for me. So once you have all of this done, the next thing you want to do is to come to your calibration tab, and that is where you will start to create all of these axes. You can see you have your X, Y, and Z axis. You can start placing them in relation to your building. So there are two different ways I can place the axis. I can either place by line or by grid. So I will start with the longer one, which is by line. So if I go to by line, I'm going to have this line. Then I can just start placing this, position this line. So just click on this and click on the other one all the way up. So I have this placed there, and I want to put this, position this correctly. So I have that. So now I've created this line, but I need to tell Cinema 4D that this line is the Y axis. And how I need to do that is just hold down my shift and left click. Once it's going to give me the red axis, you know that's not the red axis. I'll click again. I have the yellow axis, so that's what I'm looking for. So I want to place, so I need to place at least 2 for me to have this solved. All right, so I'm going to hold down Control and duplicate that all the way to that section, or maybe bring this here. Yeah. Then I need to move this and make this position correctly. That's placed there. And this is also placed there. You can see we have solved, but now you are looking for having this value change to green. Green will tell you how close, meaning the solution is kind of close to being accurate. So 2 is not enough for me. I have to still duplicate and have more. So if I come here and I add one more somewhere here, I can just drag this over here and move this in position. By the time you start to see what is happening here, so I'm beginning to have a value showing, and that value you can see that is reducing while I'm changing this. So the lower the value is, the more accurate this gets a half. So I can see that when I move this to this, I now have 0.001 and it turns green. So that means this is a little bit more accurate than every other thing. So that's how you create by using your lines. But there's another faster way of doing that, which is using your grid. So if I click on this grid, I can actually create a grid that will give me a plane. So I'll just drag one here and drag this over here and then bring this here. So what I'm trying to do is more like the Photoshop perspective. So we'll have that created here. So I have this. So I want to change this view to my z-axis. If I hold down my shift, click the first time it turns green, click the second time it turns blue. Sorry, red, green, then click, it turns blue. So I'll do the same thing here. Okay, so make sure everything is blue. So I have blue somewhere there. I need to also add one more here so that I will be able to finish solving that. So I will just duplicate this by holding down Control and duplicating this over here. Okay, so I want to look for the right place to move this. Thinking this will be fine. Yeah, I'm thinking this place will be fine. So I want to utilize this very small section. So I want this over here. Then move this over here. So I'll move this also here. So I'm just trying to get that perspective out of the way. So you can see that my Z point is set at 0.04, and that's good. And indirectly my X is gotten for me, so I can actually stop here, or I can actually decide to say maybe I want to create one more. But I want to also consider scale, because so for the scale, if you know a particular dimension, you can just place that line to tell what length that object is. So I will want to assume that from here to the ground is let's say 3000 millimeters, or 3 meters, or let's just say let's say it's 3 meters. So I'm going to create another line just so I can use that to get sense of length. So I'll just place here to be the total height for this floor, and that gets to that place. Okay, so we have that. So what I can do is have this guy selected. Once I have it selected, I can click on this unknown length, so I can put the length. I know that this length should be 3000 millimeters, which is 300 centimeters. We should do that, and this will be set to scale. All right, so what I'm left with now is the camera position. So the camera position is just telling us where we're going to place our camera. So I'll just click here and add a pin, and now this pin will determine where the ground is. You can see where that as soon as I click on, once I click this, the grid jumps up So I'll just move this pin down, position this to where I want my grid to be. So let's just say, let's assume I want the grid to be somewhere here. And now I have all of these sets. Then we can create a camera mapping tag. As soon as I click that, it's going to add the material here. I have a material on my camera, so let me just call this cam. Then I want to create a background, because right now if I go out, you can see we don't have anything in the background. So if I select this and I click on background, it's going to create a background object for me and also add the material. So I'll call this PG. So we have that background that will always be there. So that's pretty much how you set up this, and you will now ask yourself, so how is this now? How does this solve my problem? And this is, you will see very soon. By the time I click here now, you notice I have this cube, which is more like interacting on that environment. You can see that it's feeling like it's on that ground, and we can start using this to build up whatever it is we want to build. Okay, so that's how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I want to quickly sketch out the building. So I have that. Then I'm going to hit C on my keyboard to convert that. Go to my polygon mode, select this guy, and move this to the ground, just somewhere here. Then I will move up a little bit, change my view to the top, go back to the camera. So what I want to do now is I want to quickly create all of this. So you can see the problem here now. I have done my Z is fine, but then the issue here is my X doesn't seem to, you can see that Z is going up correctly fine, but the X is not quite giving me what I want. So what I'm going to do is I will delete this, go back into my camera mapping. I want to add another grid, and now this grid I want to set it for my X, so I'll place this somewhere here so that I will tell Cinema 4D how I want my X to be placed. I don't want it to kind of assume for me, so I'll just position this so that I'll be sure that that's where my X is going. So I'll click here. All right, so I want to hold down shift and click on this. That becomes my X. So I still haven't gotten the X because I need to add more here. So if I hold down control, I can drag this to the side just so I can use it to finish up. So I will drag this somewhere here. Drag this somewhere here. Okay, so I'm trying to get that position correct. So that's that. So this one will possibly come all the way to the back of this section. And then this comes here. So I'm trying so hard to make sure I get that. So you can see what's happening as I'm changing. This is changing the values. I want to move it to the point where I have this reduced, so it's still is increasing. So you can see it's kind of increasing. So it's just me moving this. You can see it's reducing now. So I want to kind of get it reduced to a point where I'm comfortable and I can say, okay, that's fine for. Okay, I think I'll just stop here and I have my X in that position. So if I come here now and I create my box and then I move this right here, this should have solved the perspective issue that I have. You can see now, this is now better off than I had before. So if I come here and I hit C on my keyboard, select this, I have that section, and then I want to go to the top, go back into this, and I move that up. You can see how accurate it now look. So we have that. Let's see where we have selected. So that's perfect. Move this all the way here, and we want to select the other part, which is here. So I'm trying to create the whole building. So I have this all the way here. Okay, so I want to do this back. So what I'm going to do, I'm just doing KL for loop cuts. I know I have a section here. Click that, and then have this. So let's just select these points and extrude this down all the way to that point. Then I will go out. I'll select these guys. So that's where my camera is. So I'll go into this camera again. I'm going to extrude this to the side till it covers that. But now the issue now is I'm covering, I'm not seeing what I'm this building. So what I can do is I can hit my N key, and then I have option to hit R for X-ray. If I hit R, I start to see that X-ray. So I'm going to extrude one more to the point where I get to this back. So what I'll do is just select these two and then extrude this outward. So we'll get this. Yeah. Then if I go out, I can select these two guys, go back into my camera and extrude this up. So what I'm basically doing is just to get the contour of the building. So here I notice something here. I will go back, Ctrl Z, I missed that. So I'll just select this and go into my camera again, and then I'll move this. So I will stop here. So let me just put all of the detail here. If I hit my KL, I can, okay, so let me undo that. So I hit my KL somewhere here and also do somewhere here. Then I will want to select these guys, this face that you have there. Then I'll include these faces. Then I'll do an extrusion out just to get that part. Then KL to select this section for me to do an inner extrusion. So I'm just following the windows. So I have that, I have this, and I have the last one. So if I go to my move tool, I can select these three sections. I'm holding down shift to select them. Then I will just extrude them inwards till I'm fine. So if I go out again, you can see what I have. It looks more like that section. So I just want to leave this part because I'm not going to be putting anything here. I just want to put something somewhere here. Okay, so if I go out, you can see I have that section where we are going to be looking out through. So we have this. And then I can now start putting my things into this section. So let's just quickly create another object. So I'll just select this guy, hit N, and then hit R again to go back into this. So if I go to my object mode, I select this and I hold down Control and click on this box. I'm going to have a box here directly placed in that location. Then I can move this out somewhere there and also here, just so I can create where my artboard is going to be. So I have this, I can increase this up a little bit. So let's just say this is where we're looking at. So let me just go into the camera. Okay, so this is what I have. All right, so I'm going to hit C on my keyboard and go outside my camera for a moment. Go to polygon mode, select this, and then I'll move this to the side. So what I want to do now is I want to select both faces. And if I hit I on my keyboard and I try to inner extrude, it's going to do them separately, and I don't want that. So I'm going to undo that. So for me to inner extrude both of them at the same time, by the way, just right click and you're going to see extrude inner. So I want to change the maximum angle to be like 91. Then once I do this, it's going to extrude both inside. So I have that. I'm going to do another little extrusion, inner extrusion rather. Then if I hit UL for loop selection, select this loop. Then D for extrusion, I can extrude this inwards. So we have this, my object. So if I go into the camera, this is what I have. All right. So this is good. I have my building, then I also have my billboard that I'm going to place this over. So what I want to do to the billboard is I don't want this to be too sharp, just like you have it. So I'll select the billboard object, hit NB to go to shaded with edge. Then I'll go to edge loop, select this edge. Just make sure I have this edge selected. Then I'll right click and then you will see bevel. I want to bevel this edge. Then once I have that edge beveled, I want to add some subdivision to it. So I'm going to have a rounded edge so that by the time the light hit it, it's going to, you're going to see that light being caught at that position. So let's see how we can visualize this. So we're going to be using Redshift to render that, but let's quickly create a floor object which will hold all of these things here. So I have my floor, and then I want to move this floor down such that it takes the building. All right, I think I'm fine now. All right, so the building is resting on it. So you can see we have quickly created the building without even thinking about it. So we have this. So let's quickly visualize this building and see how it's going to look like. So if I go into my render setting, I'm going to change this to Redshift. Then in my Redshift, I just go to advanced and nothing more. I just want to leave it as a default. So I have that created. Then if I go into my Redshift render view, and so this is just a test that I've done. So let's just clear that out. So if I hit a test render, so you're going to see what I have. So this is what I have. I see this building and all, but I don't see what I have in the background. All right. So what I'm going to do is, if you look at this building, so let me just hide them for a moment. Let me put all of these guys in null and hide them. You can see what's happening. Look at what is happening here. You see that we have the shadow here. That means sun will probably be somewhere here and it's casting the shadow. So let's look at how to do that. If I come here and I create a light, an infinite light, we will start to see what's happening. The light will be facing this direction, and this is what you're going to get. You're going to see that, okay, so I don't see anything because I've turned off my building. So let's bring it back on. You can see what's happening. The light is hitting at this point and it's going there. But the opposite is what we want. We want the light to be here and hitting. So the thing is, the position of the light is towards the Z. So if I hit my rotation tool and I rotate this somewhat here, you start to see how the lights will interact. So I want to have a little bit of an angle to that, and then I want it to also come down so that it casts that little shadow. Yeah. All right, so you're getting what we're having here. So I like that. So we have this light created, but the thing is, I actually want to use this image. I want to use this image as a source of light and then still have it in my background. So for me to do that, I have to create another type of light, which is dome light. And if I go into the general of the dome light, by default, I'm going to have white light. And then it's just filling everywhere where you have your very dark shadow. So it's just filling them with white. But I want to light it with this image that I have here. So if I come into this my path, I can drag this image into this path. Then it's going to bring the image, and that will light what we have here. But then you can see that the image is not really looking like the building. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use this image somewhere else, not in the dome map, because the dome map is mapped spherical, so it's using a spherical map type to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'll copy this guy and go into my back plate, activate the back plate, and then paste this here. So what will happen now is that I have my back plate showing like a normal image, but then I still have this image lighting my scene. All right, so let's see how we will try to get this image out, because right now this model we've created is still showing and we don't want it to show. We want it to turn to like the buildings, and we have all of the shadow being casted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the building itself. So let me just highlight them. So this is the building, so let me just start renaming building, and this is going to be the board. Then we have the floor. So for this floor, I actually do not need too many segments, so just drop this to 1 by 1 because I'm not doing anything on that floor, and also to make my work really fast. So if I select the building and I right click on the building, I have my redshift tag. I can add a redshift object to it. So where I want to go to is the math section. I need to activate the math. So what the math will do is that it's going to turn this object that I'm adding it to the background image and still retain some of the setting from the light. So if I activate that, notice what happens. It turns this into that object. But the issue with this now is that I'm not seeing the shadow anymore. I've lost all of the shadow. You can see if I deactivate all the shadow impacts, I'm not seeing them anymore. So I just need to, for me to bring them back, I need to come to the shadow and enable the shadow. Then you start to see the shadow having interaction with the building. So like more like what is like on top of that building. So you can see that. Then we can reduce the intensity or the transparency of the shadow by dragging this all the way up or down and leaving this here. Then you also have option to apply secondary rays, and that will apply that. And you can affect matte lights. All of the settings you can do them, but you are fine with what we have here. Okay. Then for the alpha, changing this alpha really doesn't really do anything in this case, so I'll just leave that there. But we're beginning to see the interaction here, so let's just see what happens without it, with it, and let's turn off this light so we don't get to have anything. So the only thing we have now is just more like contact lights. Do you understand? Contact shadow to this object. So the next thing we want to look at is the floor. Right now the floor is also losing its. So what we just do is duplicate this and drag to the floor, and that will get everything solved. Okay, so we have that shadow, and now this place is now becoming dark. Remember, here is really light, so it's becoming dark now. So let's see how to do that. If I bring this up, it's even going to increase that. So we will turn off this for a moment and bring in another light, another dome light, just so that it can light a little bit of the scene. But now the issue with this dome light is that the intensity is much, and I also do not want to see this guy. So I'll turn off this dome light. I don't want to see it. I just want it to light and increase the area where you have the shadow. So if you look at the difference, so let's bring this up a little bit. We can bring the exposure up to like 0.5, and let's try 5. So you can see impact here. Okay, I actually don't think this is a good idea for me, so I will leave that out. And yeah, I'm also beginning to see some issue here. You can see that this place is really light and this place is dark. So let's go into the building and start to see what's happening. Okay, so bring this all the way up. So we have diffuse scale. So let's bring this up. So nothing is happening here. Nothing is happening. Nothing still is happening. So let's see if I receive shadow from math. Yeah, I actually want to receive shadow, but then the shadow is quite too much. Let's see affect alpha, and the alpha, we can start to see what's happening here. Okay, so I'm just trying to see what can be done here. Okay, so I have this. If I bring back this dome light, let's see what's happening. So you can see what's happening now. So I think the dome light is here and is also helping us with that. So I think we will just have to use that dome light. Okay, so affect matte by light. You don't really see anything. So if I turn on this, it turns this dark, and which really isn't good. So you can see the difference. So this is really bright, but then you still have your shadow. Okay, so we have that done. Let's see if I bring this up to like 1.5, the lights will be really much. Yeah, and you start to see it interacting more with that. So you have more of that. So let's just try like 2, because we want to add it to this guy. So you see we have that done. And the good thing with this approach now is if I come here and try and bring in stuff, you start to see them here. But before we do that, let's put our billboard ads here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select my billboard, go to the polygon mode, and select just this place where I want to add my billboard to. I'll right click and then split. Once I have that split, I will delete what I have. Okay, I need to be sure that the split. Let me just stop this for a moment. Select that, right click, split, yeah, and I'll delete. So because I was rendering, so it wasn't doing that. So we now have 2 objects. We have the main object and the screen. So what I'll just do, this is going to be the board ads, or this will be the board body, so to say. So for the board ads, I can quickly create the material and bring the material way down. Sorry, bring the color down somewhat here and increase this. We want to have something like that. Okay, let's bring this down. And that's just what I want. So just drag that to the body. So we have that as a body. So I will create another material, a redshift material. And this material, I will put a texture object here, and I'll plug that texture into my overall emission color. So for the emission color, I will just have to come here and put the image there that I'm looking for. So I have some images that I can add. So if I scroll up, I have this. I think if I go into this, I have some images. Well, okay. I have some images I can drag into this section. So if I just drag this and drop this into this place, it's going to ask me, so you can see we have that image, but we're not seeing the image updated here because we still need to go into the overall and give the emission with value. So we'll begin to take this all the way up for it to emit. So you see that if I bring this color down, because it's trying to mix with that color, so bring it down so it gives us the actual color it should have. So let's add that to this object. So this is the ads. If I drag this to this ads, so let's see how it looks. I can see what's happening. So there's a problem here. If I'm correct, you can see this place. Some things are here and it may not look like it's going in the right direction. So what I can do is I can come here. Let me stop this for a moment. I can come into this section. So while I have this object selected, I can go into my UV edit. I want to say, so this is why I'm having this queued out. So I have this option here. You can see the UV of this object is really bad. I can also, as well as decide to say, come here and change it from UV to frontal. So, but the issue with the frontal is that it's going to not map this correctly, and you just see the image looking really big, and you can see it's just going straight. It's not going with the perspective of that image, and you can see this part which I don't really like. So let's stop that, minimize, and let's solve that. So if I come to this and go to the UV edit, and this is what I have. Okay, because I chose frontal now, this is what frontal is giving us. So if I go to this polygon mode, I can Ctrl A to select all. And then I will come to this material. First off, enable this material so that it shows inside this place. And we need to now make this UV fit into this. Then I will just make sure I come back to this object, it's selected. And then I can just click on this paint setup wizard. And we go to this, make sure we deselect everything and select only the billboard ads. Next, leave this setting as is. You can increase resolution and so on. So, but I'll just go with 2K. I'll just select that. You see what happens. It's going to scale everything up. So what I need to do is, because I don't want to have this E cut out, don't forget this is an empty space, and I need to merge them together. So I will go back to this polygon mode, select these guys like so, then go to my move tool. I'll zoom in and then move this to touch that. I need to zoom in really well, then move this such that they are in the same position, and when I'm far you will not really see the movement, so the way they merge. So once I'm done with this, I can now go back into my standard mode, and that would have been done. If we go to this material now, we would have turned back to UV because we have worked on the UV. So I'm trying to get this back out. So let's just get the redshift render out, and let's test that out again. You will see this would have solved that. You can see the way this is looking, and that's fine. Okay, so we have that. So I think why I'm having this is because of that shadow. That's why I'm having this part looking like it is looking. So let's try and rotate this shadow. Let's go to the light and go to rotation, then move this. Try and see what's going to be happening here. So if I come here all the way, you can see the shadow, the interaction of the light on this. So trying to see what I'm going to have. Okay, so I think I'll just leave it like that. It's because of that rounded edge that we're having this. So you can see this, the way it's curved and goes all the way to that point. So you can quickly see how we can superimpose an object into your image, and then it will look really nice. So if I create this, for instance, I move this to the position somewhere here, you can see how that looks. And if you look at this now, see the direction of my shadow, it's looking too deflected towards that side. And then what I can do is just come to my light, go to rotate, and deflect it in the right position. So this is just how, and maybe I want to move it even more, a little bit, somewhat like that. Let's take a little bit. I think that's too much, just something like this. And now it's kind of going in the same direction with the objects here. If I add this material over it, it's going to reflect, sorry, Ctrl Z, and add this over here. You're going to see it's reflecting the environment. Okay, so this is just how I will do that. So if I feel, for instance, that okay, I don't want to use this image to light, I want to have an HDRI, I can actually bring an HDRI that is close to this in terms of lighting, and I can put that HDRI into this. And let me just show you before I stop this rendering and call it done. So let's just say this, for instance, and so it's going to try to bring that in and then initialize. So I should have actually stopped this before initializing that. So let's just see what happens. So with this, we might need to change the rotation because the lighting scenario for this new HDRI image I'm bringing is not the same. So it would definitely not be the same, so we will have to just change the rotation. So let me just wait. Alright, so this is what we have. You can see what's happening. Don't think something is okay. So you can see from here that I'm having a double shadow. So what I can do is I can come here and start to rotate this, maybe in this direction, so you can see what's happening. So I will rotate this till it, so you can see the rotation is going in the opposite direction. So I'll have to come back till the shadow aligns, and that will help me to know that, okay, so that then you can see this part, it looks too deflected there. So let's see which one I need to change. Okay, I'll bring this down. Let's see this. So I am just creating the shadow. You can see this is beginning to look somehow. So I'm trying to bring the dark shadow. Okay, so I think it's this one that I'm going to change now, because um, this is the infinite light. So I will just come here and change the rotation till it's kind of fits into that. So let's just, so you can see that I'm changing, that is changing its position. Then let's say this comes in, yeah, you can see what's happening. So it's the infinite light that I'm changing now in order to fit into it till everything will be fine. So you can see what we have. So we have that created. You can also see from here, it looks more like it. You can see this shadow reflection everywhere. So this is how you will create your environment, by taking up a picture and then adding your own image into the picture, then to make it look um, realistic as much. If I bring it closer, you can see what I have. So I could continue tweaking this all day long, but I will just have to stop here and leave you to practice what you have. So if you feel this was helpful, please do give me a like and a thumbs up, because it helps me on YouTube algorithm. And if you are new to my channel, please do subscribe to this, because I do tutorials like this every time. So do have a wonderful day, and God bless you. Bye.